Welcome to Aphra's Artifacts, where we do some archaeology of our own and dig into the queer side of Star Wars. I'm your host, Alia Morgaine, and it's so great to have you here. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about my journey, my queer journey and my Star Wars journey. How have those two parts of my life molded who I am today? Warning, it is going to be a bit scripted just because I want to do all of my journey justice. But videos from here on out will not be nearly as so. So here we go. So what kind of queer am I? I'll start with this question because queer is such an incredibly broad category. I am pansexual. And it took me 20 years to come to this realization. When I was 13 and awakening in my sexuality, I realized I was far more attracted to women than men, evidenced by the posters of Willow and Buffy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Christina Aguilera on my walls. My diary from that time is filled with proclamations of the excitement of gay love in the play Rent, from which I now have a No Day But Today tattoo. I went so far as to tell my classmates that I was bisexual, and I'm not sure whether this is typical or odd, but most of the guys were all for it. Yeah, there's a bisexual girl, that's sexy. Goodness, I was barely a teenager, but it's amazing what hormones will do to a person when they're coming into puberty. Regardless, I quickly started to question how a male could ever understand a female, which led to my saying I was a full lesbian. I had a super crush on my best friend, and she knew about it, but was sweetly kind about the whole ordeal. I never had a girlfriend, though, or the opportunity to kiss a girl, so I started dating guys. Maybe because of hormones, maybe out of necessity. Either way, I decided that I was, again, bisexual. By the time I was a senior in high school, I considered myself straight again, although I did have several gay guy friends. It wasn't until freshman year of college that I finally had the opportunity to make out with a girl. The aftershocks left me reeling. But I again ignored it. Travel forward in time many years to late grad school. My best friend was a lesbian, and I went to several of her lesbian parties. One night, she was hanging out at my place and invited over the girl she was dating along with her sister. After a couple of daiquiris, I was super flirting with said sister. Once they left, my friend commented, "Marie, you are gay AF." I began to wonder, but still didn't believe I had come full circle. Then fast forward to 26. I have my first full-time job, and my coworker bestie is a gay man. I'm hanging out with him and his straight friend who was a girl, and whenever she left the table, I would gush about how cute she was. Yes, I'd had a couple of margaritas, which led to the next morning's proclamation that I'm only gay when I'm drinking. Now, how many times have we heard that excuse? Well, then I met a beautiful Brazilian girl who absolutely swept me off my feet. I mean, this woman knocked the breath out of me. Gorgeous, yet masculine in a super sexy way, and I was done for. I realized then that yes, I was very attracted to women. We dated for close to a year, and I even thought about proposing. I was so enamored. By the way, she's still one of my closest friends, which is incredible. After her, I went on full on for women, dating several, including a trans girl who ended up realizing they were non-binary. At the time, I struggled with the idea of non-binary because I thought I needed to be with a woman. And I hate that because of what I now accept as my sexuality. But I was also going through a lot mentally at the time, so everything was difficult back then. Luckily, we too are still friends, and I value their friendship more than I can say. So I'd been with men, a trans woman non-binary person, and women. I still considered myself a lesbian. Well, a man came along in the distance who got my blood pumping, and I fell into a maelstrom of confusion. I was genuinely attracted to this guy, but bisexual didn't sit right with me at all. Too restrictive and too, well, binary. Was I pansexual? It was like coming out all over again. All my friends are gay, and I was terrified of their reactions. I was so afraid they wouldn't accept my being anything but full lesbian. The joke was on me, as I should have realized, because these people have been with me through everything. I mean, I've gone to some really dark, scary places in my life, and they've all been with me through it. helping me along to get me better and understanding and accepting me through it all. What did they think about me being pansexual? I believe we're all pretty fluid. To a joking, "you breeder," was the gamut of the responses, but they were all blatantly positive. Regardless, I struggled. What was I to tell my parents? I'd already come out to them as lesbian, and that went terribly. Would they understand pansexual? I've still ignored that last bit to this day. I've dated one straight guy and a masculine-leaning non-binary person since I came out to myself as pansexual. My parents think I'm back to dating men again, but it's so much more complicated than that. I see people as people. And yes, I've finally accepted that I'm genuinely attracted to all genders, although I may lean more toward women. If I'm attracted to a person and we're compatible, that's all that really matters. So pan for the win! Whew, that was a lot. I hope you're still with me because my Star Wars journey is next. I was 10 years old, 1996, when my mom and dad sat me down to watch A New Hope. Oh my God, I was awestruck. How could such an incredible story be something that actually existed? The next night, we sat down to watch Empire Strikes Back. Holy heck, I thought, this one's even better. I commented on how I really wanted Luke and Leia to get together, and my dad said, "Oh, let's watch Return of the Jedi, now." So the same night, we put on what would be my number one Star Wars film for the next 3 years. And I realized Luke and Leia definitely did not need to be together. The Ewoks, the dark side, the lightsabers, the space battles. So much goodness wrapped up into one epic movie. After seeing the films, I began drawing Star Wars doodles in every test I turned in. I would not stop talking about the movies to my friends. They all thought I was a freak. But then I was a bit of a freak already for liking vampires way before their time in popular media, so... On vacation with my grandparents soon after this, they took me to see The Magic of the Myth, a Star Wars museum exhibition complete with a full Jabba puppet and a slave Leia outfit. I don't remember much from the exhibition, but I still have the t-shirt and pillowcase that they bought for me there. I'll never forget how much that trip meant to me. Then it was 1999, and The Phantom Menace was set to be released. New Star Wars! I don't remember when or how I saw it, but the feeling of seeing a Star Wars that I deeply connected with on a personal level will never leave me. This movie was my movie. This was my Star Wars. I was 13, so I was just a little older than Anakin and 1 year younger than Padme. I was them. Then Attack of the Clones. Oh, Attack of the Clones. How I could sing your praises forever. The love, the romance, the action, the humor, the heart, the duplicity, the world building. This was my new favorite. I was now 16, and goodness did I think I was old, and wise, and experienced, and had already had my fair share of romantic relationships, mishaps, and all-out failures. I felt Anakin to my soul. He loved so incredibly hard. I mean, this boy loved. Padme was one of the only things his brain could think about, and I had that too in my life at the time. I dated a guy 3 separate times over 3 years in high school. I could not get him out of my head. He was my Padme, and so I understood Anakin's obsession and inability to shake off the need and desire. And Padme loved him back. How beautiful, how romantic. They were meant for each other. I wanted this to be me. Then, Revenge of the Sith. It was my high school graduation present to myself to go to the midnight premiere dressed as a mashup of Barasafi and Luminara Unduli with a lightsaber, with my brother dressed as my Padawan, complete with Padawan braid. It was a perfect night. I knew Anakin's fall was coming. I knew he was to become Darth Vader, and I am a sucker for foreshadowing. I couldn't wait to see how this story played out. Again, it ended up being my favorite Star Wars of all time, but this time because the literary aspects of the story spoke to me. A story of loss, love, anger, confusion, and ultimately betrayal. Well, I guess emotionally I got it too. Again, I was Anakin. Mostly. So my order at this point was 3, 2, 1, 6, 5, 4. I know, it's an odd order. but it's my order, and I love it. I doted on Star Wars for some time, but it mostly fell to the wayside until I started struggling mentally in life as a teacher. At that point, I needed a distraction, something to delve into and love and enjoy that wasn't the real life that was sucking me dry. Well, I began reading the Jason and Jaina solo books and ate them up. I was a huge Darth Caedus fan. And then Disney bought Star Wars. Canon was struck and rewritten, and Jason and Jaina were no more. I was heartbroken, to say the least. But then it struck me. With canon restarting, I could begin with a fresh slate. I could actually read it all. So I started my canon multimedia timeline spreadsheet and haven't looked back since. This is where I document where everything happens in the timeline, along with my personal description of the bit of multimedia, along with the planets and species involved. I got into this spreadsheet. And I watched the Clone Wars. What a fantastic show. I honestly don't even remember how I started watching it. I just know it struck a deep chord with me, and I absolutely adored it. Starting from the beginning has been such a blessing, something I'll always be thankful for. In 2017, I went to my first Dragon Con, and boy was I enamored. A place where you can be your total geeky self and you're loved for it. It was an amazing experience, and getting a finalist position in my first Star Wars trivia contest ever certainly didn't hurt. I then realized how much I enjoyed the minutiae of Star Wars, and so began a notebook filled with trivia questions. I quizzed myself on repeat preparing for the next year and started a review blog, the StarWarsReview.blogspot.com, where I review everything in canon, including the children's books. I again got a finalist position in 2018, and after a conversation with a lovely human being, realized I needed to get active on Twitter. So I ramped up my curation of a beautifully loving Star Wars Twitter timeline that still brings me joy to this day. Follow me at Alia Morgaine. I again was a finalist in 2019, and by this time had started writing posts on Beyond the Blast Doors website, and had started podcasting with Tumbling Saber once a month. All that along with a few articles on the Far Far Away Cantina blog on queerness in Star Wars. I even participated in a Star Wars Representation Matters panel and a queer relationships and pop culture panel that year. I was flying high, but I still hadn't won trivia. In 2020, I decided I was making flashcards, including photos of every clone trooper. I can honestly say I know 83 by sight now. And, well, it happened. I actually won Dragon Con Star Wars trivia. All my dedication and hard work, love, and obsession had finally paid off. I was over the freaking moon. And then I realized it was time. Time to start a YouTube channel dedicated to queerness in Star Wars. There's so much great material out there, it just needs to be dug into. So here I am, an archaeologist like Aphra, a fabulous queer character, digging into the artifacts of Star Wars that show queerness. And yes, I did not speak to the sequels, but they haven't shaped me in the same way the original trilogy and prequel trilogy did. I still adore them, especially Rise of Skywalker. And out of all Star Wars movies ever created, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars of all time. Mostly I just wanted to focus on what's made me up to this point, and I hope you enjoyed the journey. So thanks for tuning in. Next week, we'll deep dive into our titular character, the always dastardly Dr. Aphra. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, check out my Twitter at Alia Morgaine, and peruse my review blog at the StarWarsReview.blogspot.com. All links are in the channel and video descriptions. And remember, new content will be released next Sunday at 6 p.m. Central. Till next time, may the Force be with you.